And so I took his advice and I found a really good opportunity to go to Arizona State to be an intern in their sports performance department. And it was awesome. It was life-changing. So, I mean, you move out there to make $0 an hour to work 50, 60, 70 hours a week, doesn't really matter. But it was eye-opening. And I realized if I can do that for 4 months, and I loved every minute of going in, being at work at 5 a.m. minimum till 5 p.m. on Saturdays and Sundays for game days, that was definitely a calling.
Welcome to the Athletic Performance Podcast. Sarah, it's been a long time since we talked. You're like one of the few people, I always get excited when I talk to people that I've actually met in person, because there's so many people like I know, but I just like call them internet friends. And obviously, we talked about us kind of bridging this gap towards 40. So like my social circle just gets a little bit smaller every year. It's like the herd thins a little bit. So
it does.
When I actually know somebody, it's cool to have them on. But anyway, I want to talk about you. And for those who don't know you, please, let's start with the origin story. Like, what was your career path into SNC, and how did that set the stage for where you are now?
So I did my undergrad at Kentucky, where we met, in kinesiology and health promotion. And after doing my student teaching, I did that at the high school level and junior high level. I realized I needed a little bit more. I really missed people that wanted to be there. I mean, PE and health is fun for those who like PE, but I didn't really realize until I did my student teaching that not every kid likes PE the way I did. So I had a nice a mentor a friend we have in common, Jim Laird from Lexington Athletic Club. He kind of gave me some really good advice. He was like, why don't you get an internship I was just about to finish my undergrad in the strength and conditioning world. He's like, I think that might be a really good fit for you. And I didn't realize that was going to be such a game changer. He was like, if you go somewhere, where you're not comfortable, where you don't know people, you'll probably dive all in. And so I took his advice and I found a really good opportunity to go to Arizona State to be an intern in their sports performance department. And it was awesome. It was life-changing. So, I mean, you move out there to make $0 an hour to work 50, 60, 70 hours a week, doesn't really matter. But it was eye-opening. And I realized if I can do that for 4 months, and I loved every minute of going in, being at work at 5 a.m. minimum till 5 p.m. on Saturdays and Sundays for game days, that was definitely a calling. So I got really lucky that once I finished that fall internship, I worked mostly with football at Arizona State at that point, but as an intern, they kind of just pull you different places so you get to see a lot of different things. And they offered me a graduate assistantship. That didn't start. It wasn't available until May. So I finished that internship in December. And then they were like, we can bring you on board to start your graduate assistantship in May. So in between then, they were awesome. And they gave me some opportunities. So I worked for the Arizona Cardinals chiropractor for a while. So I did like some stretching, like manual stretching therapy type stuff out of the chiropractor office. That was an awesome gig. And then I worked at Gold's Gym. I basically had like 3 jobs in like a 5-6 month period in order to save enough money to stay out out there in Phoenix. And after that, started that graduate assistantship. And my focus then was men's basketball and baseball. And I worked under their director of Olympic sports, those were his main responsibilities, and women's basketball. And so he and I would take turns traveling or not traveling, depending on which teams he needed to be with. And I got to go to 2 College World Series. That was a game changer. Made me really like the baseball aspect of things. Worked with some big guys there. I mean, like James Harden was on the team for those 2 years that I was with the men's basketball team. So it was an exciting time. And after that, I was looking, and I actually was really dead set on working in minor league baseball. That was my goal. And at the time, there weren't a lot of females breaking through. And so I would get, when you're out in Arizona, half the teams are in Arizona training, half the teams are in Florida. So I'm like, this is a no-brainer. I've got experience. I've worked with a really good college team. I've got references, and nobody would call me back. I would not get any interviews. Then a couple times I put just my initials on my resume, and I got a couple calls, and at least they let me know, now it's you could probably sue people for stuff like this, but they said, hey, we're just really not in a position to be hiring females right now. We've had such and such issues and stuff like that. And so I kind of gave up, but in a way it was a good thing that, because I really didn't realize how much I love the college setting. And when you break down the minor league job, that's a rough go for a while. You're eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, making $1,000 a month or something. I don't even know what they make at least back then. So it's a long road, and it's still 120 to 160 games, and I can't imagine that now. I mean, at 22, I finished my grad school, so I was probably 24. But it didn't work out, so I started working. I just took a full-time role at Gold's Gym in the meantime while I was applying for other jobs, and I conveniently met my future husband there. So he hired me as his personal trainer when I was working at the Gold's Gym in downtown Phoenix. And we've been dating for a while, and he got offered a job to move to California, here to the Central Coast, full time, because he used to work half the year in Arizona and half the year in California. And so he was like, hey, would you move out here? And I was like, well, I'll move out there if I can find a job. So in the area, the closest schools are Cal Poly or UC Santa Barbara. Those are kind of in the middle of like where he works. And so I applied, and Cal Poly had an opening for like a part-time position. And when I got here, I was a little bit shocked, because the mid-major level is way different than what I was coming from. Arizona State was like 8 or 9 full-time, and they even have more than that now. But back then, you can only have, 5 people work football, but the head guy worked football, and then everybody else had other team responsibilities that also worked football. Now they just have 5 full-time football, and then they probably have 1 per sport, which is a luxury. Yeah. But here at this level, there was 1 guy and his assistant doing 21 teams. So I was like, oh, okay. And he's like, hey, I can pay you this, which is comical, because I was making about that as a GA. And I was like, well, all right. And so I stayed on board for like a year before I got like a pay bump. And I would just basically come in from like 5 to 10 a.m. and whatever teams he needed me to work with at that point. And I actually fell in love with this level. It was awesome. The weight room is not shiny. It was way worse than my high school weight room. Probably still is, because my high school weight room is actually really nice now. But it's been the best. This community is so cool here, because everybody, there's not a lot going on. You're basically dead in the middle of San Francisco and LA. So it's like this small little beach town. The university is about 10-minute drive from the beach, and it's a cool spot, and the athletes are awesome. They work super hard. They want to be here. They're crazy intelligent. It's so hard to get into school here. They're really well known for their engineering program, their architecture program, and they reject a lot of 4.0 kids. I mean, it's impressive. So it's a really cool place to be. And so I basically have built up this program. I was on board part-time for a year, maybe 2 actually years, part-time pay at least. And then worked up a little bit, and a new director came in 2013. And then when he left in 2018, I got promoted to the director. And then since then, at that point, it was just he and I were full-time, and we had like a part-time position. And now we're up to 4 full-time people and 1.5 part-time people, I guess. So we're trying to build up the department as we grow, and like the sports, the dynamic change. We just lost a team for the first time ever. We had to cut a program. Ooh. And then we had some Title IX stuff going on where we didn't have as many female athletes. So they added an all-female program. That'll be the first time. We have a stunt team now that is, we always had one, but they were not an NCAA sport yet. So all kinds of dynamics are changing. So that was the long version of that. But yeah, but here we are.
So
it's
all said and done. How many years you been at Cal Poly? Is it like 10 now by my math?
No, 14.
14. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got here in summer of 2011.
Wow.
So yeah, so man, fall of 2011 was my first.
Life comes at you fast. I did not I knew, obviously to be a director of a collegiate strength and conditioning program, you have to have like a pretty elite pedigree. I did not realize like all the stops you made along the way. Like hearing that, I was actually just out at ASU last May, I think. Oh, wow. This May? I don't know. Last May. life, it's so fast. It was last May 2024.
Hmm.
Anyway, Matt Jordan had a force play conference out there. It was awesome. Like I just found
Cool.
myself, it was in the middle, like, school was out, so there were really no kids on campus, so I'm just like kind of navigating. I don't know what it was like when you were there. It's insane. It's so nice now.
Yeah.
But it might look completely different. When I go back to Lexington, like I don't even recognize UK.
Gosh.
I'm like, I don't know where anything is. And then
I can't believe how that different their campus looks. Yeah.
Oh, it's crazy. And it's not like Lexington really has anywhere to go. But we also need to like just recognize the hotbed of talent out of the LAC, the Lexington Athletic Club. Because obviously Jim Laird's like the godfather. Okay. So huge in the powerlifting world. Molly Galbraith, Girls Gone Strong. You at Cal Poly. Chris Freeman is crushing it. Alan Kress is like training like a Saudi prince or something. I don't even know
what. I have so many questions about that.
Man, I'm like, y'all are so impressive. I'm like the bottom of the totem pole here. I'm like, I just run the gym.
You can put yourself up higher. You should probably rank higher than that.
I just gotta rub elbows with the goods.
Yeah, I connected with Molly a few years ago. I went to one of her events. She's so impressive. I love seeing her stuff.
Yeah, so. She'll reach out every once in a while, but I wanted to see if she would do a podcast, and she actually helped me get Krista Scott Dixon on a couple of months ago. So it was just like so nice to just kind of reconnect and catch up because she's traveling the world too. But it's amazing. So you kind of talked a little bit about the early years, like you've got these teams, you've got like a coach, maybe an assistant. Obviously not a lot of discretionary fun going into this program, at least in the beginning. So you're 20 something, you're walking into a Division I weight room, which looks like a okay high school weight room. And now you're in charge, like you're the girl. So my question is, how do you get these athletes and especially the sport coaches to respect you when maybe they don't feel like you've really earned your stripes yet?
When you first come in, I think that it's really, really intimidating. But if you were in a position like I was at ASU where your graduate assistantship was a very good preparation, I think that's honestly, I know they're shying away from GA jobs these days, but that was the best position ever to be in because you get to be, you have the mentorship and you have people around you. Maybe somebody else is going to program and you're going to carry out the program, or depending on what your setup looks like. And you get all the opportunities to ask the questions and to see how they do things. And that made me, to be honest, I was probably dumb enough, naive enough. I wasn't even scared when I got here. I was like, okay, let's go. This is my show. Let's go. Because I was so excited to do things my way. Now, whether that was the best way, I have no idea. Looking back, if I looked at my old programs, I'm sure everybody would be like, what in the world was I writing? But I think that you kind of do the best with what you have. So like, do better until you know better, right? So like, you're going to do what you do. I say that, and I still tell interns this, I'm like, or beginning coaches that have gone from an intern to a coach for us or something, but coach what you know how to coach really well. I think a simple program, maybe it's like, we grew up on the tier system at ASU. That was kind of like because Joe was at ASU.
Yeah.
I went there when Jim Laird recommended them. I was going there because I wanted to work under Joe Ken because he was doing a lot for the profession at the time. Nobody was like putting out books for people that wanted to be strength coaches. And so he recommended that and I kind of jumped on it. And then right when I got there, he left and took a job in the NFL for the Panthers. So I never got to meet him or anything, but luckily the staff that was there was so cool. So Ben Hilgart was the head, and then the associate head for football was Josh Storms. And the pedigree that's come out of there, the people that I got to work with. So Ben Hilgart's now at Boise State, but he's been everywhere. He's been New Mexico, West Virginia, U of A, all kinds of stuff. And he's at Boise. And then Josh is the head strength coach at Florida State. It's really impressive. And then the other guy that was the next guy in line, Ryan Reynolds, he's the head for the Kansas City Chiefs. He's the director of strength and conditioning there. The guy he was a GA when I came in as an intern. He's been the director at the Texans. So people have done some really awesome things there. So I was sad that I didn't get to work for Joe Ken, but it was, looking back, I'm like, man, I still got a really awesome experience from there. So, but anyways, coming in and running your own program was super exciting. I probably should have been more scared because I guess when I got here, I was only like 25, 26. And I just thought it was the greatest thing ever to be able to run my own thing. But I was pretty simple at first, and I focused on the things that I knew how to coach really well. And then you just build up confidence, trying new things and seeing what works. And training at the team level depends on how big your team is, or if you're coaching a sport that has like, you need to specialize by position. All those things you have to just learn by experience. You have to just kind of dive in and say, I mean, if you have a good sport coach, they help you out a lot too, because they're going to tell you what the needs are, what, in your sports medicine staff is honestly going to help you out a lot with that as well. They're going to say, these are the injuries that we're seeing most often. This is what we're trying to combat. And overall, to me, I think durability is the main theme of everything. Is like, okay, is it cool when they can do fancy stuff? Is it cool when they can, squat these insane numbers, bench these numbers? Yes. But what's cooler is having a team that's fully available for the coach to play. And we're not having a bunch of kids on the sideline. So durability is number one. So that's how I sell it to the sport coaches, is this is what I'm trying to do. My number one goal is for you to have nobody sitting the bench, nobody on your injured list. And then as they get better and better, we're going to get fancier and fancier and see if we can do some more impressive, cool, Instagram worthy stuff. Maybe.
Yeah, one of the things I noticed, and I mean, I'm in private sector, so I don't have the magnitude of athletes that you have. But the first thing that, like, when our programs get battle tested and we're super busy and there's lots of kids coming in and out, is what is simple and what is just way confusing and cumbersome. And time and time again, simplicity wins. So
every time.
My question, you came in, like, how many athletes were you immediately in charge of? Like 200-300?
I don't know. It depends. So like, I know I had softball, women's soccer, volleyball, and then I had like men's and women's tennis. That was right out the gate. So those weren't large teams. But at one point here in my tenure, like when I first took over the head job, I was the only person. So I had no help from August till December. I had 21 teams. So it was like 500. I counted it at one day. It was like 586, I think, I was solely responsible. I was the only strength coach. I don't even think I had good interns at that point. That was fall of 2018, because the guy that quit, he gave his notice and he was gone. And so I was in the interview process while taking care of all these teams. Thank God I didn't have kids yet. I had just gotten married that year and I didn't have any kids yet. But I was like, I just lived here. I literally thought about just putting a bed under my desk and just saying I'll be home on Friday maybe. But yeah, that part's a little overwhelming. And luckily I'm very type B mom. Like I'm like the mom that just grabs the diaper and runs out of the house, But when it comes to work, if I showed you my planner right now, you might be like, she's on the spectrum. It's so organized. So that's the key, is that everything has to be like color coded, organized. I still use a paper planner. Like,
same.
Is there anything more? It's a millennial thing, right? Is that what we do? It's in my phone. And like my Outlook still has meeting, but I still have to write everything. It could be an ADHD thing. I do have raging ADHD. I don't know.
Yes, so, same here. Undiagnosed, which is the best part. But I'm like, man, I missed out on the good drugs. Like Adderall would have been so useful for me.
It would have saved your life. I actually was diagnosed later on in life because I thought I had anxiety after I had my second kid. I thought I was losing it. And the doctor was so awesome. And she's like, well, after running some tests, you have ADHD and it's pretty bad. I'm not sure how you have functioned so far, but she's like, what I think. And she started asking me these funny questions about birth order. She's like, let me guess, you're the oldest. And I'm like, yes. She's like, let me guess, you have prioritized your career and I'm like, yeah. So she read me like a book and she was like, so I didn't take medication for a long time because I was pregnant or nursing and you can't take it. And so what was cool is that I still met with this doctor all the time. And she gave me so much insight into what are things that I was doing that can be fixed, and like the way, anyways, I'm getting off on a tangent, but it was really very insightful. And
no, this is real talk, because I bet there's a lot of coaches who deal with this too. I mean, we're always high energy. Like every conference I go to, we were talking about your college being on the quarter system. Like 50 minutes was a hard limit for me. I start losing my attention. I've never been to a conference where I can just sit still for the whole time. So I'm sure you're not alone here. I've actually found myself recently within the past 6 months, taking these tests online to see if I have autism. I'm like, I think I might have a little bit. It's not throwing shade.
Maybe we all have a little bit of it.
I don't know. I'm like, something. I don't know. It's just where I'm at with it.
She did explain. She's like, a lot of women are diagnosed later in life because you've been able to do it all, and then you hit a wall. So my wall was 2 kids, kids and a full-time job without a break. And so that's where she's like, kind of I gave her like a rundown of my day, and she's like, that's not normal. Why you can't do that? And I was like, oh yeah, I can. She's like, well, that's why you're here. You have clearly this is your breaking point. And I was like, oh, all right. Makes sense. So
yeah, I mean, you got a cape on. Like the fact that you're managing almost 600 athletes, like the time to coach them is absolutely insane. But how do you program and plan for that? Like in that situation when it was at its worst, like how did you even keep up?
Oh my gosh. It was really hard. Luckily, I had a lot in place going into that fall because I already had like at least a 10-team responsibility that I knew I was going to have. And then when that coach left, I just had to like grind for a couple days. I'm really big on making these big 52-week skeleton outlines for my year. And then I plug everything in there. So like the exercise prescription at the very end is sort of the last piece of it. You know, you kind of go through what movement qualities are we focusing on this at this phase or whatever. So if things are broken down into, you know, macrocycles and then microcycles, it's more of like a fill in the blank. And that stuff I can do on a whim now that I've been doing it for so long. So that was me. It was like, okay, let's get the big picture on the outline first and try to figure out how to fit things in. The scheduling is honestly the hardest part. Like the programming it is what it is, but getting at that time, it was one weight room we have. That's it. So I was like, well, okay, my first team has to start at 5, whether they want to or not. And the last team is going to end at 6. And that was pretty much the norm. And that kind of still is. After COVID is what actually saved us. We had very strict, as you can imagine, regulations out here. And our weight room doesn't have any windows. It is wedged between 2 locker rooms and not the greatest ventilation. So they were like, you can't train in here. We were like, what do you mean? They're like, you have to find somewhere else to train. We're like, I don't understand. Like, no people are allowed in here. And they're like, no. Eventually they told us we could train. I think the number was like 15 or less. So like a basketball team or less could train in there. So basketball, tennis, golf, that was it. Yeah, so what we did was we took an entire tennis court and we bought a wedding tent, 45 by 90 wedding tent to cover an entire tennis court. My department was like, here's $20,000. And I was like, that would buy me a rack or 2. Yeah. What are you talking about? So we took all of our plates out, all of our dumbbells, and I bought a 12 Rogue like freestanding racks. And that is what we did. And all of our barbells rusted, all of our plates rusted, all of our dumbbells rusted. We were out there for almost 2 years. Once we were allowed back in with like, I think that they eventually moved the number to like 20 or 25 could be in the weight room. So we could train volleyball and like softball, that kind of stuff. But we still kept that tent because it was really nice to be able to train football out there with a space that big. We could almost usually we did 3 groups, but we could do offense, defense if we needed to. Yeah. But man, it was a rough couple years.
That's wild. Yeah. I didn't think about how long you guys had the regulations. So
felt like forever.
What I'm hearing a lot of this is like, it comes down to just having systems, right? With how you're programming, what you're doing, the flow of everything. What's the actual, like, what's the actual delivery like? Are you programming the stuff on like a Train Heroic or TeamBuildr, or are you guys old school doing the like paper programs?
I was old school Excel spreadsheets for the longest time. Once COVID hit, I had already been looking at things like Train Heroic and TeamBuildr, and we went with TeamBuildr. So since 2020, we've been using TeamBuildr. Some of our coaches though, like I let my coaches have, like the 4 guys that work for me can do whatever the hell they want. If they want TeamBuildr, great. It's there for you to use. I highly encourage it when athletes are off campus because it's the best way for them to, you know, there's no excuse. They have it. It's there. I know how you guys use an app better than anybody else out there. And I didn't get your email. My PDF wouldn't, like, no, it's on the app. But I still use spreadsheets from time to time and print it off if I just need something quick. It depends on the team, honestly. Some teams are so distracted by having their phone in the weight room or the iPad. Their phone is the worst because they can't ignore a notification that pops up. Cannot. It is humanly impossible for when an Instagram or a Snap or whatever. And I'm like, no. So
always the Snap, and it's like a picture of somebody's nose from under, you know?
Oh yeah.
It's dumb.
I can't. It's like, and then So that part of it has drove me a little bit crazy when they're on campus. So a lot of times I am old school with like we've just have dry erase boards. We have one side of our weight room is 6 platforms, and then there's a dry erase board behind all those. So we use that so I can write something up really quick, or I have somebody that's injured and I'm like, hey, Johnny, this is yours for today.
Yep.
Just look up here, whatever. So the whiteboard's big. Then the other side of the weight room's got 10 racks between these two different rigs. And so if they need their phone, it's not a big deal. But my girls' teams are a lot better about it, to be honest. The guys' team, men's basketball is not allowed to bring their phone in the weight room anymore because they are the main culprit of, I'm just going to look really quick. I'm just going to, and before you know it, they've gone off. But so yeah, TeamBuildr is really helpful for that. It's also nice that if I did have the athletes bring their phone in to do, to enter off, like say we were doing some max testing that day, they can enter it for me. And it's so much faster than me walking around with a clipboard, and kind of depends on how much help I have too. So if I have an intern, that's really helpful. We'll record stuff that way. And, and now we just got, we're finally joining the Force Plate Club. So we are, I know we've been trying for so long. It's honestly been a manpower thing. We just don't have enough. It takes me forever. So I'm getting a little bit better at it as far as the collection of the data. But it's so hard now that I've got a couple good interns that have familiarized themselves with it. That has made it a little bit easier. But man,
What'd you guys go with? What brand?
We ended up going with Vault.
Okay.
We had already had some, I saw your Hawkins shirt, so don't be mad at me, but we had
Jack's my dude, so.
Yeah, I feel bad I like their product too. Vault just had a really nice hub that we were using, and sports medicine had dove into their force frame and their dynamometer.
Oh, yeah. And that makes a lot of sense then.
Football had already had their timing gates. So it just made sense for us to have everything in one platform. So yeah, we're getting
there. No, that's
Football
great.
hasn't done the force decks yet.
It's a really great product. It's funny. Just it kind of comes down to the individual stuff with the teams, right? Talking about, do they do better with the programs? My experience, I have developing athletes, high school kids. They're as bad as the basketball team. I know they've got to be, because we still print out stuff. I still use Excel. Like, I am so old school with that.
Good. I'm so glad. Yeah.
But I love it. Like I spent probably 6 months, like putting on, 6 is exaggerating, probably about 3 months, putting all these programs on an online platform like, Train Heroic or TeamBuildr. And 2 weeks after launch, I'm like, we're done. We're not using this. I'm like, this is terrible.
Drove you crazy?
Oh, the kids with the phones. It was the worst thing we ever did. I mean, it was literally 2 weeks. I'm like, I just spent the last quarter, like, getting all this stuff together. I'm like, I don't care.
It's so hard.
I'm like, we just can't do it. But I kind of want to keep digging into this. So, when you come into this role, okay, you're now the director, you're ownership. I feel like, there's often a reason somebody leaves. So many coaches probably inherit a little bit of a mess. Mm-hmm. But when you took over, I mean, you had some time there, you kind of knew what was going on, but what did you feel like the things that were in place that were working really well to make your life efficient? And what did you feel like was broken that was just making it hard from like a management and a system standpoint to do what you needed to do, especially at the volume you were doing it?
That's a really good question. And I'm glad you asked, because I don't think anyone's ever asked me that. One thing that I noticed, and it's not a knock to the guy before me, because he's still one of the greatest guys and a good friend. I think it didn't work well having the head of the department at this level be also the head football strength coach. That was the first thing I wanted to change. And while I would have loved to have been the head football strength coach, I had enough, pride to sit aside and say, I don't think I'm the best person to run this department and be the head football strength coach. So I knew I needed somebody in place to take over that big, huge responsibility, because it's 110 to 120 guys at any given time. And that's a huge chunk. And they really need somebody that's going to be able to be at every single thing. So with football, it's one of those rare sports where they need to be at practice. They need to be at every single thing that you do. Other sports I can get away with. I don't have to be at every volleyball practice. I mean, it'd be nice. And I like to pop in if there's somebody that can't practice and I need to help them do some conditioning or some rehab, some return to play stuff. If their sports medicine person can't do it, I try my best to do that. But that was a big priority for me. It was like, that person has to be at every single thing. So that was the first thing I changed when I knew I got the role. So it was about a month and a half or two. When he left in mid-August, he left the week of the first game. So after that, I wasn't fully in that role, I guess, the head job as far as the title until October something. So at that point, I could start finding my full-time person. And that's when I looked for, I was like, hey, I need somebody that's going to be able to do football full-time. And I will take some of the responsibilities off so that he can have a couple other sports. And
Yeah.
so that was the biggest change that I saw. That's where I saw the biggest gap. So that was the first thing I changed. There was a ton of systems that I really liked and things that he did. I liked the way he scheduled things. He did a good job, like not prioritizing teams based on any like favoritism necessarily, but hey, this team is larger. For a team like swim and dive was huge. It was 60 kids and they trained twice a day. So we have to give them some sort of priority because they have two practices. So they're not saying they're our favorite team and they get a priority, but we have to think about things like that. So I learned a lot from him from that scheduling perspective. I was like, okay, that's how we have to do things. And you have to tell teams and you piss a lot of people off, but it's not that you don't care about that team better, or it's just, you have to do what works best for you guys. So that part I learned a lot from him is like how to do things and still like, have people not mad at you all the time and, when to care and when not to care and stuff like that. So that was definitely harder, but that transition in general was tough. And then it was just made me like, okay, we really need more staff. So that's what I just kept pushing for, is like, I want to better serve these athletes and these coaches, and two people isn't getting it done. So that was the platform that I stood on for the longest time. It was like, I need more help. I need more people. I need more bodies in here and more coaches. So every time I would get somebody like, okay, we're going to do a fundraiser this year. What equipment do you need? I was like, people. I need people. That's it. So I would fundraise and I would get stuff and I'd be like, okay, well, this is going to be to pay an intern, a paid intern. And this is going to be to pay, we don't have grad assistant opportunities here. We don't have a master's in kines either, which is really hard, or anything in exercise and wellness as on campus. So it's harder to pull from that graduate assistant community. But every once in a while you get somebody that's a recent grad or like a 4th or 5th year senior in the kines program that does a really nice job that you're able to bring on with a work study program or something. And so to me, I will always prioritize people, coaches over, I'd be like, hey, we're not getting any staff shirts this year because we are having an intern and that's what I need. And so I think the administration started seeing that. I was like, okay, this isn't a joke anymore. She's really serious about getting the help in there. And then I don't care if the weight room's shiny. That's not the newer weight room, like a 10-pound dumbbell that's brand new and a 10-pound dumbbell that's old, they weigh the same. We're getting the work done. Let's get people in here. That's going to better serve everybody. So.
Yeah, we want those rusty weights. But I mean, it speaks to a bigger problem, right? A lot of the questions are like, when I talk to people, it's like, hey, what's the best thing for this? The force plates, what's the best way we can test? But it's like, how do we actually run a program under the constraints that we have? We're trying to, manage people and kids' schedules and all these practices. And then once we get all that resolved, then we're talking about like how to actually deploy these programs and coach them. So there's so many steps of just things that I think people don't realize that go into what you do. I'm learning a lot. It's crazy. I don't envy some of the problems you have for sure. But it's interesting to me, like you're almost in a little bit of a silo because not having those, upper level kines grads, master students that's critical.
Really hard. Yeah. We get some good undergrads and that's fine. And they're very, very helpful. And they actually get a ton, probably the same amount of experience. Like, cause once they've earned my trust, I'll basically treat them like a GA. I'll let them do this and run this. And then if they are CSCS certified, if they've just graduated and, they've got one of those, then I can give them a little bit more responsibility. And we've had several cases of that and guys that have gone on to do some really awesome things. And that's honestly what keeps us alive and keeps us afloat, when you're able to like lean on people like that. But yeah, master's program would be a game changer.
Yeah. Right. Sure. So kind of want to shift the tone of the conversation because, at this point we've kind of covered the ground of, hey, this is an insanely, just demanding job, demanding role. We're short people, which presents its own challenges. And a lot of this ultimately with you as the director is going to fall on you. So most people in your position, you've already talked about some of the guys, Ben, Josh, Ryan, they've kind of bounced around. And I think that's probably the norm for people who are in collegiate strength and conditioning or in professional strength and conditioning. Is a reason I decided to go into the private sector, is because like, I know I don't want to be a journeyman, for a certain period of time. just, personal choice. But you've been there, like you said, almost 14 years. Like, what has allowed you to thrive, to continue to be the obvious choice for Cal Poly? And I think on the other side of the coin is what's allowed you to not really burn out besides your ADD?
Well, what I think was I wanted to, as soon as I got here and fell in love with this community, this town, this school, I was like, I got to find a way to stay here. And luckily, I mean, as you probably know, the collegiate side, the private sector pays way better. So there's definitely way more opportunity financially to move up. But once you fall in love with this little town and this like community and these athletes, I was like, okay, how do I just adapt and make this what I want it to be, and kind of create and change what this department looks like. So that's what I've spent the most time doing, is figuring out a way to stay. My husband loves it here. He works in the ag industry, so he doesn't want to move. So we have a really good thing going. I mean, I live 5 houses from the beach. Like, where can you do that in California, right? Like, it's kind of okay. I have a pretty good setup, a good thing going. So that was the driving force, was like, this is where I want to be. How do we change it? So I think that even though 14 years sounds like a long time, it doesn't feel like it's been that long, because it's been so changing. It's everything is just like, okay, this year we're going to do this. And it's, I don't know, it went faster than I would have thought. But you're right, though, bouncing around, if I was a little bit younger, I probably would have I turned down some opportunities early on that I think would have been, good ones here and there. But ultimately it was okay, well then you have to pick up and leave all the time. And the mid-major level has less turnover here in general. So every time a football staff turns over at a big school, which can be 1 year, 2 year, maybe only 4, everybody gets canned, right? You're just leaving and everybody brings in their own stuff. So that's another thing about this level that makes it easier to put a, more long-term. There's actually a lot of coaches here. Like, one of my best friends is our head volleyball coach, and she got the head job the same year I did, but she had been here longer than I have. So I think she's been on campus for 16 years, and she's a year younger than me too. So once people get here, they stay. They like it. Our softball coach has been here 20 plus years. Our baseball coach, our women's basketball coach a couple years ago retired. I think she was 25 years. Our women's soccer coach just retired last year. And he's been the only coach at this university since the program started, 30 years.
Wow.
So I think it's a common denominator that people really like it here and they want to be here. I never thought I wanted to live in California, to be honest. It was not on my bucket list. It just kind of happened. And now I see why people, pay a ridiculous amount of taxes and do all these things to live out here. Cause I'm like, okay, I get it. The weather is 99% of the time is absolutely perfect. And there's a lot of benefits there, but definitely found a way to stay. And I think it's worth it.
I like that you really highlight like this aspect of like legacy. Like, I want to build this program into something bigger. It's not about, I want Sara, I'll call you Burhager. It's MacKenzie now. I still know you as Iceberg. Yeah.
Maybe I'll have an iceberg weight room one day.
Oh, that'd be sick. Yeah. But it's not like I need myself to be remembered as this great coach. It's like you're really thinking about something bigger than you. And I think that just speaks a lot to who I knew of you as a person, right? So I just want to highlight that. But the challenge inside of all of this, and we talked about this a little off air, is not just being a female, head strength and conditioning coach, which is few and far between, but being a parent. And not only that, being a parent in a state where you have no family, you don't have that support system. I know you have 3 kids now. This is extremely challenging. I mean, having kids alone with parents around to help is so hard. So, I mean, my God, like, how do you navigate all of this from being a spouse? You talked about getting married the year you're training 600 kids. Like, that's that's stressful year.
I can't believe you didn't leave me right off the bat, but yeah.
The only straight coach to get married and divorced in the same year. No. But seriously, what's been your process and just kind of your non-negotiables behind being a parent, being a spouse, and then also being like, a mentor to all these athletes that you're responsible for?
Man, kids was the biggest game changer. I think I'd never put myself first in any of those situations, and now they come first. And so that's how I have to like rethink everything. Yeah. The first few years were really hard. My first kid was born March 2nd of 2020, and then the world shut down 5 days later. So that was a game changer. for me, it was actually probably the best thing that could have happened. My mom came out for a month and stayed here because nobody had to do anything for a long time. But it's been really hard. So basically now I try to figure out, I've had to, things that really mattered that I like overanalyzed and like stressed out about, I have to like step back and be like, is it that big of a deal? Like, is it a big deal for me to ask a coach to move their lift time up a half an hour so I can pick my kids up at school 2 days a week? And like 26-year-old Sarah would have never, I would have never called our head football coach and be like, listen, can you move that last group for me? He probably did not think twice and would have never cared, right? But to me, I was like, oh my gosh, I would never do that. Now I'm like, okay, it's not a big deal, right? Okay, I'm going to be a few minutes late. The intern's going to get them warmed up. And that took a long time for me to not stress out about stuff like that. And I just think about things in the grand scheme of things. Like in the grand scheme, is this going to be okay? Are we still accomplishing what we need to do in that workout? And I have to just take a deep breath and be like, you know what? It's cool. But I got to pick my kid up from school and he will remember that more often than anything else. Or now my husband always was like, you can't bring them to the weight room. It's not safe in there. Well, guess what? They live in the weight room. So if they have to get out of school early and I have to come back to train teams, it's kind of awesome. It really, at first I was kind of stressed out when they're really little and they're like my almost 2-year-old, he has gotten himself in situations and I'm like, oh my gosh, he's got to stay in the stroller or something. But the other two are learning. You can just tell they learn so much. And then they come into like my garage gym when I'm training and they'll be like, oh, I saw this football player doing this, or I saw this, baseball player doing this. And it's so cool to see them do that. So to me, I have to step back and say, okay, can I still get the job done? And if it comes to a point where I can't, I have the ego where I can step back and say, I'm going to do this job part-time because they're the priority. But right now, knock on wood, I think I'm making it work pretty well. And they're getting a really good balance of seeing a mom that goes to work every day and works super hard so that they can live where they live and they can, get those experiences that most kids, like they're on the sidelines for football games and they get to go in the dugout for baseball. They get to do whatever. So they're on the court for, they get to go to volleyball camp before they're old enough to go to volleyball camp. So it's just super fun for me to see them get these little opportunities that most kids don't get. And whether they become athletes or not, I mean, that's very fun, will be really fun for me, but at least they get to see hard work and they get to see like the little sacrifices that are made along the way and hopefully don't feel like they're getting slighted for my attention because I care about this job and I care about the athletes. I mean, they're still first, but try to make a good balance.
No, I get that. I mean, Kara and I, we both own businesses. So, I mean, we could be on that grind 24/7. Yeah, I don't know what we're doing. Wow. But we can be on that grind 24/7. You know what I mean? And there'd be times where I feel like we're just passing like 2 farts in the wind. It's like hi and bye, or I haven't seen you all day. So I totally get that. And especially being like type A, like I am too, it's like, I want everything to run efficiently, but I'm with you. It's like, you just start to be like, what really kind of like in the way that parenting kind of forces your hand to make some of these decisions. Like if we leave town or we go on vacation, it's like, I got to trust my people. Like, you got to move some stuff around. It's
That's
just
huge.
Just by virtue of necessity, like I kind of find myself being like, why didn't I do this before? Like, is it really that big of a deal?
Do you have like a general manager or something, like a person that's like your number 2?
Yeah. I mean, well, I got 2 of them. One guy works in the mornings, the other one in the evenings.
Nice.
And neither are really available on the opposite. So it's kind of challenging. We got a pretty small staff, but it's, it works. And most people are pretty chill with that stuff. So, follow-up question. Do you think, has being a parent like changed your coaching style or perspective at all?
Made me so much softer. I'm so soft. It's ridiculous. Oh my God. Pre-2020 Sarah was like, if you had, something I mean, I wasn't a total jerk about it, but now I think I listen better. I don't know, like it definitely has softened me. I have like looked into, I can tell when somebody's late for a legit reason instead of me just being like, I don't give a shit. Get on the bike. Let's do it. Or, or you showed up too late, get out. And now I'm like, oh man, okay. I can't kick them out. They really got to do, like, I 100% softened me into like a complete puddle comparison. But I think it makes me like think about it from a parent perspective. Sometimes like, what would I want them to say to my kid if that was my kid? And I never thought about anything like that before, which is, I don't know if that's good or bad, but if someone has like, you know, a death in the family and they're like, okay, well, I can't get a flight until, you know, should I do it after? I'm like, go. You need to be with your family right now. Like, and I don't know if I totally did that same, you know, was on the opposite end before, but now I'm like, family's so important. And this one workout is not the end of the world. But I think 25-year-old Sarah thought it was the end of the world. So I've come a long way. This generation gets probably a much more empathetic version of me, for sure.
No, sure. So my mom had my kid brother basically when I was 17 and a half going into senior year.
Oh my gosh.
And
no way.
Yes. I say I'm my mom's first only child, right? But the parenting style between me and my brother was vastly different. They were just at a different stage of life. You know, they're professionally, they were in different areas. So I totally get this. The question I always have, because I do think there is value in the soft side and some of the soft skills with this, but especially in strength and conditioning, especially football strength and conditioning, that can be so frowned upon, right? It's just like it's wussy and weak. But how are you now balancing this empathy and emotional intelligence with still holding standards and having expectations and getting results?
Right now, like the football head strength coach, he just got here a couple years ago. I think he's really good at the hard side of things. And I think he and I balance each other out. So I help him out. He's got a staff of, now he's got 5 of us, I guess, technically a couple part-timers. So I think that's a really good balance, that you can't have a whole staff of assholes, right? So he gets to do the tough stuff and I get to be the nice one that, you know, I don't necessarily call it nice, but because I'll work in a smaller capacity with like a couple guys that are returning to play or something sometimes. But I take a little bit more time to explain something and he doesn't have that time because he's managing all 110 of them. So that's a good balance to have. I think you need both, honestly. They need to be, you know, you have to start out a little tougher. I always tell my new coaches, I'm like, listen, you can always get nicer and you can always get, you know, a little bit more lax, but you cannot start out like that. You have to, they will walk all over you. So it always starts off at the beginning of the year. It's not lovey-dovey. I'm not asking you how your weekend was off the bat. It's, okay, this is go time. And then you find those little pockets of time to where you're asking, oh, how was your weekend? Or, you know, whatever it is, because then you get a chance to let them know that you care about them on a personal level. And I think that helps win them over in general. Like, okay, well, she really does care. And so they inherently want to work a little bit harder for you. And they don't want to let you down, I guess is the word, you know, that if you get that little softer side, but you really have to pick and choose when it's appropriate to like let your guard down and be like a person and not just a coach that wants to get something out of them. So there's different times that you can get away with that, but starting out tough and then you can always back off just a tiny bit.
Yeah, I think that works really well at our age too, because when I went into graduate school as a GA, I mean, I was 22 and that was almost the same exact advice I got from our advisor. You know, it was one of the professors. He's like, look, the age gap is small. Like some of these kids were older than me still, you know, he's like, but you have to be in charge. He's like, if you come in and you're too nice or you try to be their friend, he's like, they will steamroll you and you will never, like for the rest of the semester, you will not get that power back. He said, you are better off just holding the line and doing it. And I bet even with the football coach, when you got 110 guys, you just have to make these big sweeping like cuts of like, hey, this is the standard and you didn't adhere to it. You know, I don't have time to give you a case by case analysis of this. So I think that's really interesting though. But
no, you're right. The younger you are, the harder it is. I think you have to really, I don't think I smiled for like the first 6 months as a GA or like as an intern. I was so scared of like one of them. I don't know. I just like, I was all business for a long time and it was like terrifying. So then you get a little bit more comfortable.
And like your tough side could be kind of scary. I mean, I can see that. Like, Loki, I'd be like, I'd fall in line real quick, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
the resting bitch face is just, it's terrifying.
Hey, you got to work it. Well, this has been awesome, man. I could probably talk to you for hours about this stuff. I think one of the most fascinating things is just like to me, the magnitude of workload, the way you've managed this, just the cohesion of the program at its whole is like so impressive, Sarah. Like it really is.
Well,
I just
thank
want to
you.
highlight that. But I do want to hit you with some outro questions because I think they're fun and they're pretty short answer. But anybody in the weight room knows like the aux is the deal, and it can make or break a session. And these kids love their music.
They do.
But we'll be on. We already talked about this. Like sometimes lifting in silence is so nice. But what's the music situation like in your weight room? Do the athletes get any input, or do you just hate the playlist like we do?
I let them have the aux, but I also have full reign of like if they play something like they know I hate EDM. I hate it. And if house is on and it's just like like I don't know, my brain goes crazy, so they know better than that. I love rap and I love country. Those are what I'm going to play. I also get to control the volume. They get to pick the music. I control the volume. So when they come in, until I have given them the rundown on the workout, there's no music. So we usually do our warm up when it's quiet, but the type of warm up that we do, this like flow mobility, it requires me or a captain or an intern, whoever's leading the warm up, to be able to hear the cadence. So no music until that's on. Then I go up, I give them the breakdown. You know, if there's somebody that needs something different, we do that. And then after that, music's on, it's go time. I'm a firm believer that the music does control the vibe. And it's, sometimes I'll look at them and be like, this is not it today. We cannot play this slow R&B. We got to get, everybody's dead. It's Monday morning. Let's go. So I'll give them my input, but I don't usually play my music. It's usually just them. So.
Okay. No, I think that's fair. But, yeah, every once in a while, like we'll put the stuff on that we listen to, like the 2000s. They're like, what's with all the throwbacks and the oldies? I'm like, oh, geez, like why you gotta come at me? The
worst is like, oh, this is my mom's favorite song, and I'm like, yep. Me and your mom are the same age. Yeah.
I actually like that. You pick the music, I control the volume. It reminds me of the old, like, when you got a piece of cake, it's like one cuts, the other chooses.
One cuts, the other one picks. Yeah, same thing.
Yeah. I kind of like that.
And if it's really bad, you can barely hear it. Sorry.
Yeah. So actually, I do like house music, like deadmau5 and stuff. That's actually my like focus music.
Oh my God. You do have ADHD. I have the other kind. Yeah. I need background noise, but I can't have that. That stuff makes my brain shake.
I don't know. It gets me going. I lock in. My wife's like, what are you listening to? It'll be like on this. Still have it connected to one of the speakers in the house. She's like, God, get this off.
Oh, the worst.
Okay, so I know you're new to force plates, still working on that, but what's the best change to either a testing or training protocol for you in the last like year or two?
Well, we just got those what was it, last month or July? We got them in July. So we're starting to use that very, very new stuff. Yeah, but it's been really interesting to just see. Well, first of all, it was humbling at first when the guys were they were thinking that they were just doing another vertical jump test. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that is not the same thing. So before we would use like a jump mat, like a just jump mat, and we would do, jump testing there. But now it's letting us see so that they can focus on something other than just how high they jumped. So that to me has been eye-opening for them and for me, because it's like we would do the just jump mat like every week for like a team like volleyball that's in season. And I would either jump them every Monday or sometimes Mondays and Thursdays because they play Friday, Saturdays, see how their legs feel. And we could use that. This has been so much more insightful to see those asymmetries and stuff. That's been really eye-opening. And honestly, it's kind of brought us in sports medicine a little bit closer, being able to use those tools together. So I think that's the biggest change is like, okay, we have these baseline numbers. So now when somebody gets to campus, we have a baseline number for them and we can see what that return to play would look like. Okay, well, let's get us back to this. This is where we were before you rolled your ankle. Now, is it safe for us to load up, or do we need to do X, Y, and Z? So I think that's the biggest change so far. I'm hoping that once we've got this under our belt for like a year's worth of data, we'll be able to see what an entire a year looks like, in season, off season, all that stuff. Yeah. And that will be able to give us a lot more. So I assume you guys do that too. You guys have. Yeah,
we have a lot. I actually just I just exported all the data. I'm going to try to create some like norms based on our population. So like basically so we can kind of stratify kids as like yellow light, red light, green light situation.
That's awesome.
Yeah. In Excel, no less, which I'll be honest, I have no idea what I'm doing yet. So this is a very tentative project, but I'll run it by you so you can maybe peek at it.
No, I'm excited.
Plug your own numbers in.
The kids
But
love hearing the normative data because you can go back into
yes.
like these libraries and stuff and say, okay, on average, you know, in this 18 to 22-year-old range for a female, this is what we're looking at. And that is like really eye-opening to them versus
Mhm.
just like, this is how you jumped. This is what other people that are really good did. Like, your jump testing is only so much decided by your parents primarily. So how much force can
Yeah.
we apply? And then that's like a whole new like way of thinking for them. So
Yeah, it's so cool. I mean, there's like looking at the shape of the curves, I think is valuable, but you know, pulling each one up individually and looking at the average of multiple jumps, like that's tiresome. Like I don't have time to do that. I know you don't have time to do that, but some people do. You know, maybe in like a one-on-one setting or something.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
All right. Favorite lift exercise or assessment? You're loving that, you know, force plates assessment. Well, favorite lift or exercise you're doing with the guys and girls?
Favorite lift? Oh man. I honestly love deadlifts. That's my favorite. Like probably my favorite myself. That's my like, and a lot of coaches want to skip out on that, or they want to go to the trap bar, or they want to do whatever. My kids don't do any Olympic lifts until their deadlift looks amazing. And so for me, I love coaching the deadlift. And I think it's probably started with because so many athletes have this predisposed fear of it. Like, oh, I don't deadlift. Like I love when a freshman comes in and says that shit to me. Like, oh, yeah, so like I hurt my back, so I don't deadlift. You don't? Like, are you kidding me? No. You will deadlift and you will like it and you will figure it out. That's probably my favorite. Just like if we're being basic, we're going to coach it. And but there's, I guess, depending on the sport or the athlete or whatever, there's so many things that I love. Like I love seeing a female get her first pull up for something inside me. Just
that's so cool.
It's the most liberating thing ever. I don't know what it is. It's like, especially like somebody like a long volleyball player that has written them off, you know, like they're like, oh, can't do pull-ups. Nope. We're going to do pull-ups. We're going to do the basics really, really well. Okay. And they all want to come in. They all want to do some crazy shit, but I'm like, well, you can't pull up. You can't do a really good push-up. You have no business bench pressing. Like there's just like, there's a hierarchy and then, you know, we can go from there. But like the basic block zero program that most of my incoming freshmen get, they're like, they probably hate me for 4 weeks because they think that they're too, you know, especially because nowadays it's very rare that you get an athlete, depending on the sport, that has never lifted. And that used to be the norm. You know, you don't get a lot of people that come in and lift, or you would get like, you know, high school football players that had lifted in high school. But now it's like, thank God there's coaches like you out there that are doing the Lord's work from junior high on, that are giving them all this opportunity to come into college with like a base, like a foundation. Like, we owe you big time, because we're seeing more and more athletes that actually, you know, aren't folding under a barbell or can hinge with with some sort of resemblance of something good. So that's been a game changer, honestly. I would say there was a huge turning point about 5 or 6 years ago where I started noticing that even golfers and tennis players, sports that you didn't notice it a lot, everybody's got some sort of trainer. That's been really, really helpful.
Sure. That's huge. I feel like I'm still trying to peel kids away from like year-round club sports. I'm like, you need to take some time off a sport and you need to work on your development, you know? Because parents are like, you know, he's, you know, 5'8" and he's 140 pounds and he throws, you know, 75 miles an hour. I'm like, he needs to be like 190 pounds. And like, he ain't going to get that when you guys are traveling and eating out of hotels all weekend and doing this stuff. Like, let's get in the gym this off season. Not only that, just for overuse. Like, it's just less time doing that sport, that thing, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just play another sport. If you're not going to take time off, play something else.
Well, training's becoming the second sport. That's what I tell most people. Like, if you're going to choose to specialize early, then this has to be. You have to. It's going to fill empty gaps. Like you know, there's the freaks out there. Like, you know who they are. They're just they're just born different. But then everybody else like needs to put in the work. So I don't know.
Absolutely.
That's probably my battle cry as we're dealing with that. But no, I love the deadlift. I think it's the best lift.
Underrated.
That's just all there is to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, where can people find out more about your work? Where can they connect with you? What's the best way to get in touch?
So I'm getting better at posting on social media, and we have like a marketing like media department that helps out from time to time and like makes cool videos. Because what's interesting to me is that how much they do a ton on the actual sports side, right? Like they'll come in and film clips of practice or training camps and whatever. But they're doing a really good job of like filming them in the weight room and the behind the scenes stuff. So I don't think people realize how much time we actually spend with the athletes. It's insane. Yeah. So our Instagram for like our department is just Cal Poly strength conditioning spelled out. Mine is just Sara _ MacKenzie, and I try to post both, but I'm better at, trying to keep it about them, and my page is more personal and it dabbles in Cal Poly here and there, but you're going to see a lot of spam of little kids, and if you don't like little kids, you don't want to follow me probably. So we're going to get better. We're going to get better videos and do a little bit more content. I would love to have an intern that's dedicated to that to help me out, but
I feel like you can find somebody on campus. I mean, they all know how to use the phone. Like, iPhone video is perfect.
Yeah, that'll work for now.
Yeah, so. Well, dude, it was amazing catching up. So good to
you
touch
too.
base.
Anytime. Let's do it again.
We will.
For sure. Thanks for having me.
If you enjoyed this episode, please remember to rate and review us with 5 stars only. Then subscribe so you can get all the latest updates.